His name was Paul Scholes, and as the song went, he scored goals. And Paul Scholes is a much loved Man United legend, but a lot of supporters of other teams have labelled Paul Scholes as overrated, while there are many legends who say he was underrated. What do you think? Was Paul Scholes really that good? If you thought Paul Scholes was a great player, then click the like button. If you thought he was overrated, leave us a comment below explaining why. But anyway, in this video, let's take a closer look at how good Paul Scholes really was. Paul Scholes played 709 matches for Man United, and in that time, he scored 152 goals and provided 75 assists. Cesc Fabregas, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Claude Makelele, Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira, all these players have a right to claim of being the greatest Premier League midfielders of all time. However, none of them are in the same category. Paul Scholes earned a startling number of honours and won an incredible number of medals throughout the course of his 19-year career at the pinnacle of professional football. Those who have played with or against him have not shied away from talking highly about Paul Scholes. Around the time when Thierry Henry rejoined Arsenal on loan from New York Red Bulls, Paul Scholes came out of retirement to rejoin Man United. Thierry Henry said this about Paul Scholes: "United always had many amazing players, but whenever we faced them, we always were scared of what Paul Scholes could do." He then went on to further say, "If you let him play, he can kill you. And for me, he was so underrated. The way he plays, one touch, arriving late into the box, the way he strikes the ball, his vision, his passing, incredible. I know people used to give him stick for his tackling, but I liked that. He put his foot in, showed some character, had a go, and I like that about him too. For me, he is one of the best midfielders I have ever seen." And this description from Thierry Henry might be one of the most accurate descriptions of Paul Scholes ever. But what is most interesting is that many people might have forgotten that Paul Scholes used to be an attacker at the beginning of his career. He was used primarily as a second striker, and with this in mind, it is very interesting to see how his career evolved. Paul Scholes had already excelled at many things by the time he made his United first team debut in the 1994-1995 campaign. He scored 5 goals and provided 2 assists in 17 appearances. Not the best, but still extremely respectable for a 20-year-old's debut season. The fact that United lost the Premier League to Blackburn Rovers in the final day of the season that year made it clear that this wasn't their best season in the 90s, and Scholes' quality had still managed to shine through during an extremely difficult period for the club. Scholes would frequently interlink with the midfield and with a more experienced striking partner that season, such as Eric Cantona, Mark Hughes or Brian McClare, with deadly efficiency as the auxiliary attacker in what was typically a 4-4-2 and occasionally a 4-4-1-1. Although Scholes wasn't particularly good at dribbling, his quick feet were highly useful in tight areas. Last but not least, his composure and finishing ability were also tremendous strengths. And all of these were on complete display in the 1995-1996 season. By this time, Andy Cole had recently joined Manchester United after signing for a record transfer amount of £7 million. Despite that, Scholes was strong competition for Andy Cole and managed to get picked ahead of the record signing in a number of matches. That season, Scholes scored 10 goals and had 1 assist, which were more than enough to lead Manchester United to their 3rd Premier League title and Paul Scholes' first of many titles. The following year, United defended their title, but as the years went on, there was intense competition at the striking role for Manchester United due to the arrival of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the following season Teddy Sheringham, and the following season after that Dwight Yorke. It is safe to say at the time, the striking position at Manchester United had a rather high entry barrier. And it was because of this that Paul Scholes had to evolve, and this was when he started playing in the midfield. His passing range was more evident than ever when he started playing in the number 8 position, with his effective ball movement and lethal late runs into the penalty area. Paul Scholes and Roy Keane went on to form an iconic duo that contributed to United's historic treble in 1999 and some incredibly memorable years. Funnily enough, neither players out of Paul Scholes and Roy Keane didn't even appear in the final of the 1999 Champions League, despite scoring significant goals against Inter Milan and Juventus in the knockout stages. This probably gives you an idea of how exceptional that Manchester United team was by the fact that they lost both of their starting midfielders and still won the final. As said earlier, if you think Paul Scholes was a great player, remember to click the like button on this video and let's see how many likes he can get. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all the Manchester United video in the future. Anyway, jumping forward to 2001, and Juan Sebastian Veron had been added to the lineup as a deep line midfielder. More competition for Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes was consequentially repositioned up top as a second striker and partnered with Ruud van Nistelrooy. Scholes replaced players such as Andy Cole, Solskjaer and Dwight York in this time period. This same era was also his most productive personally and professionally. During the next 3 seasons, he scored 31 goals, including 14 in the 2002-2003 season. Despite this, United had a forgettable time as Chelsea and Arsenal temporarily took up league dominance, and it was only by 2006 when we saw Paul Scholes' final transformation into the regista role, which was only when he was in his early 30s. The patented cross-field sprays started to flow fully as he was now playing deep. Neat small dribbles in the middle of the field, brief, sharp interplay and the capacity to easily control the game's pace. This was the peak of Paul Scholes' career. This was what Paul Scholes had been building up to his whole life. Despite spending the majority of his career as an attacker, he was now primarily responsible for controlling the play by sitting in and near the halfway line. With Paul Scholes playing a key part, United went on to regain supremacy in the Premier League over the following years, and he finally got to play in a Champions League final in 2008. Even though he was unable to take part in a penalty shootout, he was at least able to enjoy this victory to the full. You could say Paul Scholes was the most complete midfielder in the game you could ever find. Although he managed to get a whopping 97 yellow cards in the Premier League, his passing range was out of this world. Paul Scholes could fire a volley into the top corner from outside the box, control games from the midfield, and even maybe make a tackle. When you consider classic Paul Scholes, you probably think of his goals against Bradford, that goal against Aston Villa, and that Paul Scholes goal against Barcelona. But when you consider that he played much further forward than he had in his younger years, it may not come as much of a surprise that he even scored 20 goals in a single season during the 03-04 campaign. Paul Scholes was nominated for the Ballon d'Or 5 times, but never won the award. But more than any other athlete in recent memory, he was revered by his teammates and other world-class players. For both club and country, Zinedine Zidane was probably one of the generation's most talented players. And when Zidane was asked, what does it feel like to be the best player in the world? Zidane replied, I don't know, ask Paul Scholes. Zidane went on to say in a different interview, there is no doubt for me that Paul Scholes is in a class of his own. He's untouchable in what he does. I never tire of watching him play. And Zidane is not the only great player to have wished Paul Scholes had been their teammate. Pep Guardiola, former manager of Barcelona, current manager of Manchester City, said this about Paul Scholes. He is the best midfielder of his generation and I would pick him out of everyone at Manchester United. I really wish I could have played with him. Even the great Pele once said that he would have scored way more goals if he had Paul Scholes in his team. It was, however, regrettable that Paul Scholes was unable to help his nation achieve the same success as his club. In a national team setup, the former England international, who gained 66 caps for England, frequently had to adopt wide playing positions. Maybe he could have been given a more memorable career wearing the England jersey if he was given a more central role and played for England like he played for Manchester United. But no England manager was ever able to fully utilise Paul Scholes' passing ability the way that Sir Alex Ferguson did at Manchester United. As a football player, Paul Scholes has achieved enviable success. He was a part of the legendary class of '92 at Manchester United. He won 11 Premier League titles and won 2 Champions League trophies. And to cap it off, in 2013, he came out of retirement to lead an injury-ravaged Manchester United team to a fairy tale-like Premier League triumph. And Man United haven't won the league since then. Coincidence? What do you think? Remember, if you love Paul Scholes as a player, click the like button and let's see how many likes he can get. Remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications for more Manchester United videos. On the screen now should be another really good video worth watching. Go click on that video and we'll see you in the next video.